My today's topic is the real identity of Uyghur Muslims of China and human rights issues. Before we start, we need to understand China's administrative divisions. Xinjiang is located, and what is the position of Xinjiang in that format? There are 22 provinces in China, 5 autonomous regions, and Xinjiang is one of them. That means Xinjiang is China's autonomous region. 4 municipalities, 2 special administrative regions, and 1 claimed province, that is Taiwan. As we all know that China always claims that Taiwan is its integral part. We can see in the map also. Here is Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region, northwest frontier of China. So it is very important to understand China's minorities, ethnic minorities of China, because without understanding it, we cannot understand what is happening there. China is a country of immense diversity in terrain, climate, and especially people. There are 56 officially recognized ethnic groups. Ethnic groups जिसे हिंदी में हम जनजाति कहेंगे, 55 माइनॉरिटीज हैं और एक मेजोरिटी है जो कि हान है। हान अपने आप को, जो अभी के हान चाइनीज हैं, वो 91% चाइना की आबादी की 91% है, तो वे अपने आप को हान वंश का मानते हैं। चीन के इतिहास में हान वंश हुआ करता था। इस तरीके से हान बाकी सारे माइनॉरिटीज से ज्यादा अपने को ज्यादा सुपीरियर मानते हैं। तो इस तरीके से हम देखें कि द लार्जेस्ट इज द हान चाइनीज नंबरिंग 900 million who reside in every region of the country. Rest 55 ethnic groups are minorities. The smallest group is Hachatsu, that is Hachan. This is the picture of 55 minority nationalities of China with their traditional attires. This is the map of demography of China, where those ethnic nationalities are located. Red one is the obviously Han nationality, and this portion is Uyghur autonomous region, that is Xinjiang. This blue colored portion is Uyghur nationality, this one, and here some this one. So Han constitutes 91% of its population. Now some other minorities are Zhuang, Hui, Man, Uyghur, Miao, Yi, Futia, Tang, Mongol, Tung. But the question is, who are the Uyghurs? There are about 12 million Uyghurs, mostly Muslim, living in Xinjiang, which is officially known as the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region. The Uyghurs speak their own language, which is similar to Turkish, and see themselves as culturally and ethnically close to Central Asian nations. They make up less than half of the Xinjiang population. The Uyghurs are a Turkic Muslim minority in China. Their native language belongs to a Turkic language family and regard themselves as culturally and ethnically close to Central Asian nations. Central Asian nations like Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, these countries. Historical background. The Uyghurs are primarily an ethnic group who had migrated from eastern Turkey to Xinjiang in 742 AD. This ethnic connection that the Uyghurs have with Turkey and the neighboring countries are present till date. There is a long history of the connection between the Turkish people and the Uyghurs. Both groups speak Turkic language, and the two groups share significant ethnic and cultural bonds. In early periods of history, the homeland of Uyghurs was part of many Central Asian states and known under different names such as Serindia, Kashgaria, Mogolistan, Altishahar, and east of Chinese Turkestan. Since its conquest by the Qing Empire in 1759, Qing Empire was the last empire of China, and from 1644 to 1911, when the dynastic rule was overthrown in 1911 and established republic there. So, in the period of Qing dynasty, conquested by Qing Empire, the homeland of Uyghurs has been developing within Chinese statehood. In 1884, China changed the name of the region from East Turkestan to Xinjiang, meaning new frontiers, declaring it a Chinese province. This Xinjiang is a Chinese word and which means new frontiers, new border. After the communist takeover in 1955, it acquired a status of one of the five autonomous regions, which we have already discussed, called Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Regions. This communist takeover means when New China was established in 1949, Mao's China, Mao Zedong's China. Islam in China. If we talk about Islam, when Islam came in China, today's China is home to a large Muslim population, around 1.6% of the total population, or around 22 million people. Islam was introduced to China by envoys from the Middle East who traveled to meet Emperor Kazakh of the Tang Dynasty in the 7th century. Tang Dynasty was one of the dynasties, and it was very prosperous in almost all the aspects. If we talk about arts, literature, poems, and architecture, songs, etc. Mosque was built in the southern trading port of Guangzhou, which we call it Canton in English, for Arabs and Persians who traveled around the Indian Ocean and South China Sea. In the 13th century, under the Mongol Yuan dynasty, when Muslims came to China in unprecedented numbers to serve as administrators for the new rulers who were descendants of Genghis Khan, founder of the Mongol Empire. This Yuan dynasty was full of Muslims because they themselves belongs to Muslim, and they invited persons to help them rule the dynasty because they were not Chinese. They invaded and captured the area and established Yuan dynasty. As we all know the history of Genghis Khan, how he was fighting with all cruelty and death. The East Turkestan Islamic movement. This is the movement going on in the area for its freedom from China. The Muslim separatist group based in the Xinjiang province in northwest China presents heightened security challenge for Beijing. Obviously, it's a challenge for Beijing. The US Treasury Department listed ETIM as a terrorist organization in 2002 during a period of increased US-Chinese cooperation on anti-terrorism in the wake of the September 11, 2001 attacks. As we all know that after 9/11 attack, America was very much conscious about such things, and they enlisted this group in as a terrorist organization in 2002. But if we see in 2020, you can see in a major policy shift on November 5, 2020, US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo lifted the ban on East Turkestan Islamic Movement, which was designated as a terrorist organization in 2002 for its alleged association with Al-Qaeda, Osama bin Laden and the Taliban. So it's all about political game. We can see here how they play games for their own purpose, own goals. It seems an independent organization seeks an independent state called East Turkestan that would cover an area including parts of Turkey, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region. So this plan is a bit ambitious, but this is the thing. Where is Xinjiang? Where is Xinjiang located? If we see in the map, here we can see Xinjiang is the northwestern region of China, where Xinjiang shares its borders with Mongolia, Russia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Afghanistan, and India. East Turkestan. The term was coined in the 19th century by Russian Turkologists, intended the name to replace the common Western term for the region, Chinese Turkestan, which referred to the Tarim Basin in the southwestern part of Xinjiang during the Qing dynasty. The Uyghur name for the Tarim Basin is Alti Shahar, which means six cities in Uyghur. China from the Han Dynasty to Tang Dynasty had called an overlapping area of western region. Means from Han Dynasty, that means 206 BC to Tang Dynasty, means 918 AD. Chinese call this region as Western region because this region is in the west of China, and they call it Western region because of they sends envoys to the Western region to explore that region for and to see and looking for ties with other rulers there. Maybe the parts of this area controlled by China were termed Xinjiang starting in the 18th century. We can see East Turkestan in this map. Then, who are the Hans? Han Chinese. Who are the Han Chinese? This Han Chinese is the majority in Chinese population, and Han Chinese means China itself. Let's see its definitions from Oxford Dictionary. The Han are defined as the dominant ethnic group in China. Dominant ethnic group, that means majority. In the Encyclopedia of the Peoples of the Asia and Oceania, the Han are called the dominant population in China as well as in Taiwan and Singapore. According to the Merriam-Webster's dictionary, the Han are the Chinese peoples, especially as distinguished from non-Chinese elements in the population. The Han dynasty's founding emperor Liu Pang, who made king of the who was made king of the Hanzhong region after the fall of the Qin dynasty. This Qin dynasty was the first imperial dynasty of China, who unified all of China in 221 BC. Please don't be confused with Qin dynasty with Qing dynasty. So Qin dynasty was the first imperial dynasty of China, and Qing dynasty was the last imperial dynasty of China. So here we are talking about Qin dynasty, title that was later shortened to the King of Han during the Chu-Han contention. The name Hanzhong in turn was derived from the Han River, which flows through the region's plains. I am afraid that some of the points our audience may not understand, but after the lecture they can ask me, and I will explain, because there are some terms which are Chinese, and okay, let's see. This is the Chinese dynasty song, and from this we can memorize or remember Chinese dynasties and its order. And like we can see here, this Shang was the first dynasty of China, and then it came Zhou dynasty, then Qin dynasty, then Han dynasty. And this Han dynasty is in red color because I wanted to show you where Han dynasty is. 206 BC to 220 AD. So this those Han ethnic group majority, they consider themselves the descendants of this dynasty, these peoples. Let's talk about Uyghur-Chinese and Han-Chinese differences. Although Uyghur-Chinese and Han-Chinese have a long history of communication and interaction with each other, Uyghur-Chinese maintain their independence in many fields, such as language, religion, custom, etc. Unlike Han-Chinese, who have no traditional religion and who believe in Confucianism, Uyghur-Chinese have a traditional religion. They believe in Islam. So here we will try to understand where is the difference, and what is the main reason behind the conflict, means Xinjiang conflict. Why there is a conflict, there is a clash between Han Chinese and Uyghur Chinese. Uyghur Chinese live in a rougher habitat with hot summer and cold winter that make human demands difficult to be satisfied compared to Han Chinese. Uyghur Chinese signature food ingredients include roasted mutton, kebabs, roasted fish, and rice. Because of the Muslim population, food is predominantly halal. Now let's come to Han Chinese, what they eat and how they live. In contrast of Uyghur Chinese, Han Chinese eat everything without bothering any religious beliefs. There is a saying also like Chinese eat everything with four legs except tables and chairs, everything that flies except helicopters and planes, and everything that swims except submarines. We can see here it's an Uyghur restaurant. You can see there are three languages written here: English, Chinese, and Uyghur. Because of Western people, they cannot understand Chinese and Uyghur, so they can easily read this English version. So let's see. This is Xinjiang Cuisine. Here I am trying to point out the differences between basic differences between Uyghur Chinese and Han Chinese. And if you have some basic differences in your living standard and all that, like your religion, your language, your ethnicity, then of course there will be a kind of misunderstanding, clash of thoughts, etc. So what they eat, this is called Uyghur Pilaf, Uyghur Polu, and this is Nangping in Chinese. It's Uyghur bread, and this one is lamb kebab, this one is lagman, and this one is tap hanchi. This is Chinese name, tap hanchi, that means a full plate of chicken. Let's see here, we can easily distinguish Han ethnic people and Uyghur ethnic people. You can see the difference, how they look like. Now here we will discuss whether China is doing wrong things with all the Muslim population there. Answer is no, because there is one another ethnic group minority which is called Hui ethnic group, minority, who are also Muslims, but Han Chinese treat them well. Why? Let's see. This is a tale of two Chinese Muslim minorities. There are two major Muslim ethnic groups in China, the Hui and the Uyghurs. While these two ethnic communities may share the same God, that is Allah, their respective positions within Chinese society remain radically different. The Uyghurs, estimated at around 12 million, who speak a Turkic language written with an Arabic script, are distinct in appearance from the Han Chinese, mostly resides in the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region, a vast province situated along the borders of several Central Asian countries in China's northwestern frontier. The Hui, estimated at around 11 million, can be found throughout China. Here we can see the difference. We can find Hui minorities throughout China, but Uyghurs only in the Xinjiang region. But however, these Hui minorities are concentrated within the Ningxia Hui autonomous region. There is another autonomous region which is Ningxia. We can see this is Uyghur man and this is Hui man. Here I want to point out that how Hui minority is very much similar to Han Chinese. We can see its appearance, and you can see Uyghur are a bit different in skin and blood. The Hui are little different from their Han brethren. That means very closer to that. For the vast majority of the Hui, Mandarin is a mother tongue. You can see their mother tongue is Mandarin, that is Chinese, and Uyghur's mother tongue is not Chinese, not Mandarin, it's Turkish. And besides refraining from pork and alcohol, they have much the same dietary preferences as the Han. Means apart from pork and alcohol, they prefer all the dietaries what Han eat. The most striking difference between the two groups, though, is their respective positions in relation to the Chinese government. Unlike the Hui, the Uyghurs face an alarming amount of state discrimination. 2013 Human Rights Watch report on China notes that under the guise of counter-terrorism and anti-separatism efforts, the government maintains a pervasive system of ethnic discrimination against Uyghurs. The report cites an omnipresence of the secret police. If you go to Xinjiang, you will find police everywhere. A history of disappearances is also there, and an overtly politicized judiciary. Judiciary, of course, judiciary is in the hand of Chinese government. As common components of the atmosphere of fear among the Uyghur population, the Hui are not mentioned in the full country report. The cause behind the gap in government treatment is twofold. Like the majority Han-Chinese, the Uyghurs also have a strong attachment to their cultural practices and are deeply prideful of their culture's long history. They have little desire to assimilate into Han Chinese. So these are the reasons. They don't want to forget their culture. They don't want to forget their language, their attire, their food habits. The Hui, on the other hand, are the ideal religious minority for the Chinese government. They have largely assimilated into Han society, but Uyghurs not assimilated, having adopted their Islamic practices to fit into the Confucian influenced macro culture. Their mosques, a harmonious blend of traditional Chinese dynastic architecture with Islamic motifs, are the perfect manifestation of the Hui's fluid simulation. Means if we see the mosque of Hui Muslims, we can see Chinese dynastic architecture in it. We can see in the picture also. This is traditional Chinese style mosque with pagoda-like eaves. This is Hui Muslims mosque, very similar to Chinese traditional Chinese architecture. Racial discrimination pervades the Uyghur-Han relationship in China. Many of the Han feel uneasy towards the Uyghurs, believing them to be thieves and hotheads in more recent years, religious fanatics. This is because the Han are poor at distinguishing the differences between the Turkic minority groups. As a consequence, when crimes are committed by Tajiks, Kazakhs, Kyrgyz, Uzbeks, or Tatars, Han will likely describe the wrongdoers to authorities as Uyghurs. Suddenly, nearly every non-Han crime taking place in China is committed by Uyghurs. So this is a kind of big misunderstanding. Han people do not distinguish with Tajiks, Kazakhs, Kyrgyz, Uzbeks with Uyghurs. They all look like similar. We can see in the picture also. See, these are Uyghurs, Kazakhs, Kyrgyz, and Tajiks. They all look similar in appearance. What are the allegations against China? So, what media saying, what Western media is saying, what Indian media is saying. Several countries, including the US, Canada, and the Netherlands, have accused China of committing genocide in Xinjiang. The leading human rights groups, Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch, have published reports accusing China of crimes against humanity. The declarations following reports that, as well as interning Uyghurs in camps, China has been forcibly mass sterilizing Uyghur women to suppress the population, separating children from their families and attempting to break the cultural traditions of the group. The US Secretary of State Antony Blinken has said China is committing genocide and crimes against humanity. The UK Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab has said the treatment of Uyghurs amounts to appalling violations of the most basic human rights. The UK Parliament declared in April 2021 that China was committing a genocide in Xinjiang. A UN Human Rights Committee in 2018 said it had credible reports that China was holding up a million people in counter extremism centers in Xinjiang. What are the allegations and other allegations? The Australian Strategic Policy Institute found evidence in 2020 of more than 380 of these re-education camps in Xinjiang, an increase of 40% on previous estimates. China cables, that is leaked documents, made clear that the camps were intended to be run as high security prisons with strict discipline and punishments. People who have managed to escape the camps have reported physical, mental, and sexual torture. Women have spoken of mass rape and sexual abuse. China has also been accused of targeting Muslim religious figures and banning religious practices in the region, as well as destroying mosques and tombs. Xinjiang is a mostly desert region and produces about a fifth of world's cotton. Human rights groups have voiced concerns that much of that cotton export is picked by forced labor. And in 2021, some Western brands removed Xinjiang cotton from their chains, leading to a backlash against the brands from Chinese celebrities and netizens. Recent decades have seen a mass migration of Han-Chinese into Xinjiang, allegedly orchestrated by the state to dilute the minority population there. So what Chinese government is doing, they are shifting Han Chinese in that area. They are giving people smart salary, accommodations, and all the things to reside there. Muslims in China and their relations with the state. China's minority and religious affairs policy. What is the policy of Chinese government about these minorities? Religious freedom ends once threats national unity. No political identity shall compete with the grand Chinese identity. All religious organizations and activities should be under state regulation. No transnational religious networks. What does China say? Now, there are so many allegations on China, but what China says, what is its stand? China says the crackdown in Xinjiang is necessary to prevent terrorism and root out Islamist extremism, and the camps are an effective tool for educating inmates in its fight against terrorism. It insists that Uyghur militants are waging a violent campaign for an independent state by plotting bombing, sabotage, and civic unrest. But it is accused of extraggeration, the threat in order to justify repression of the Uyghurs. China has dismissed claims it is trying to reduce the Uyghur population through mass sterilizations as baseless and says allegations of forced labor are completely fabricated. China denies all allegations of human rights abuses in Xinjiang, claiming its system of re-education camps are there to combat separatism and Islamist militancy in the region. It said in 2019 that it had released everyone from its re-education camp system, though as testimony from the region suggests many are still detained and many were transferred from camps to formal prisons. China denies these accusations, saying those complexes are not internment camps but vocational education and training centers for the re-education of people whose minds were poisoned by the three forces of evil, namely religious extremism, terrorism, and separatism. Here we can see in the picture uh, of China's re-education camps in Xinjiang. So, thank you very much for listening.